Well, we're kicking off a new week of radio transmissions against tyranny. We're hitting pay dirt big time in the war against the globalist. We are cutting them up in a lot of places, and they are bleeding bad. And I look to open up even bigger wounds in the enemy. If you turn loose the power that is innate in every one of you and start taking action and start exposing these murderous, traitorous, larcenous, rat-like scum of these vipers, they will fall. You'll just simply take action against them. There was never a bully in the world that wasn't defeated by laying down. You got to stand up against them. You're never going to defeat these bullies by licking their boots. How many of you in life were a coward when you were young and you got beat up many times till the first time you got mad and beat the living daylights out of the bully? Didn't matter how many times you rolled over, you finally learned to stand up. And when you learned that you could stand up, you learned how easy those bullies get knocked into the dirt. We've got to find that spirit of liberty inside each and every one of us. We've got to take action. We've got to get our fighting spirits back because we are going into a controlled depression. I am so angry, so focused, so enraged, and also so cognizant of the fact that we can beat these people. That unknown country of true liberty and freedom is just a few hundred yards away across this chasm of apathy and weakness and societal malaise and weakness. And if we would all just come together against corruption and recognize what evil is and start taking action against it, we could build a bridge to liberty, to freedom very, very quickly. But I can't do it alone. And it's frustrating because I see the awakening accelerating, but I also see the enemy becoming cognizant of that fact and pulling out all the stops to collapse this society into the arms of total dehumanization. You know what I'm going to do? This happens a lot. More often than I would like it to. I get agitated, and then I start having brainstorms of understanding. And it's kind of like over-revving a race car engine. I don't want to spin out of control here today and just start ranting and raving. So I'm going to try to settle down right now and be as calm as I can. And I'm going to go over the news here. And then later in the hour, I'm going to get into the censorship of the Obama deception. Because the censorship of this film has now led us into other avenues that illustrate other forms of censorship and control. And just how the internet has been designed to be a system to surveil us and to track us, and in the future, to censor everything we do. It is a giant NSA psychological warfare tool, but it's also a psychological testing tool to gauge and control the population. And as I learn more about how the internet works, and as I learn how the enemy has been trying to suppress what we've been doing in the last few years, and they've been failing, and as we begin to go mega viral on a daily basis, not just on a monthly basis, we're seeing the enemy pull out the stops to try to block us. And to know that on the level playing field of ideas, we would already have had victory. And to know how close we are to routing these criminals. If the public knew that our enemies are not all powerful, if the public knew how weak they are, if the public knew that it's only our apathy that allows them to run rampant on us, and if you knew what I knew, if you could understand what I understand, and I try to lay this information out. But those of you that are experts in a field, you understand how complex it is and hard it is to explain to a layperson who hasn't studied your field the subtle nuances of it. It's an art form. And my understanding of this system exponentially grows by the day until I feel like the top of my head's about to blow off. We have caught Google red-handed spying on the American people and the people of the world. They are the NSA. They are the CIA on record. We told you that 6 years ago with high-level CIA officers coming on the show who were retired and exposing it. Like Mr. Steele. Now it's mainstream news. They just throw it in your face. They think you're just going to accept it. The head of Facebook calls you a bunch of effing suckers and idiots because you trust him. He publicly laughs at you and calls you dumb animals. I'm so sick of these arrogant filth. The only way they get away with this is our apathy and the fact that we're all jacked into the television sets and only care about issues of no significance because since we were small children, the controlled corporate media purposefully ruined many people's psyches and their roadmaps for understanding human civilization and history. I listen to grown men, how they're into being mindless idiots and how they're into just making endless jokes and laughing about everything. And it's like Arrested Development at about a 5th grade level out there. I listen to other talk radio hosts, and they're just gibbering monkeys. They have no idea how dangerous history is. They have no idea that in the siege of Leningrad, close to 500,000 people died. Just regular citizens of the city. And that more than 300,000 German soldiers died and more than 300,000 Russian soldiers. In fact, I'm going from memory. Will you pull up estimates of death from the Battle of Leningrad? What was it, 1943, 44? Enemy at the gates doesn't even scratch the surface. The cannibalism. That city living on human meat for a year. There wasn't a rat left in the city that humans hadn't tracked down. They were eating the wallpaper off the walls because they'd used flour as the adhesive to put the wallpaper up. They were eating wood. They were roasting children on spits. This movie, The Road, people kept telling me to watch it, and I don't like disturbing movies because reality is disturbing enough for me. Knowing about the cannibalism in Africa and the South Pacific still going on, studying as much history as I have, knowing that within 10 days, and these are even government studies, Pentagon studies conducted in the 50s, within 10 days, 90+% of individuals will rape, murder, kill for food. Within 15 days, almost everyone becomes a cannibal. I've got the university studies that during the Depression, that during the Depression, 7 million people starved to death, millions more during the Dust Bowl, and that's when 90% of the public were self-sufficient and could take care of themselves. 7 million, bye-bye. If you looked at the photos of the Great Depression, families with their cars broke down trying to go out west, their children's ribs sticking out of their bodies, their little rib cages looking like concentration camp victims. That was all engineered by the very same banking families that perch on top of this country right now, getting ready to do the same thing. I watched this movie about a week and a half ago, and I've been having nightmares about it every single day. And I'm going to tell you something. I had a nightmare last night about this. And you know why I had a nightmare? Folks, nothing gives me nightmares. Horror movies, unrealistic crud. This film brings up ancestral memories in me. Those are instincts. We all have them. Of all of my ancestors that starved to death and fought, and women dying in childbirth, and everything else our species has gone through, crawling up and fighting the saber-toothed tigers and the cave bears and the lions and the tigers and other tribes of humans coming in and conking our ancestors on the head and dragging the men off to eat them and taking our women and children and raping the hell out of them. That's what evil people do. That's the norm, is people taking your child and running a metal rod through them and turning them on a spit to eat them. Every culture has engaged in cannibalism, even when there's plenty of food. It's an act of dominance by psychopathic control freak groups that tend to take control of societies. But those societies can never become industrialized because only a loving, good culture can build a true system. But then the parasites always come in and take over civilizations, and then they implode. And that's what's happened to us. And you watch. This society's done. It's going down. We are a diseased, filthy, demonic country and world full of soft people who have been soft for generation after generation, myself included, and we're going down. It's a total realization. And let me tell you something. If we don't stand up and get ready and speak out, it's going to get bad. But if we don't speak out and take action, it's going to get, in many cases, as bad as it is in this film.